Happy Degen Day! It's Wednesday, hump day, I think. Yes, Wednesday, it's hump day, and it's Degen Day. So that's what's on the agenda. I think we're talking about Avalanche, a whole bunch of other ecosystems.
Yeah, we've got Avalanche, Cosmos, Uniswap, Binance. God, Binance.
Oh, Binance.
And even a little bit of ETH.
A little bit of ETH. We're talking about all the Degen news today. Quick shout out to our friends at Opolis.
Oh, nice.
The all-seeing eye.
Very cool.
If you don't want to know.
Even I have crypto merch today. I have my Barcelona hoodie from
Avalanche
ago. Feels like years ago.
It was years ago.
It was a year and a bit ago.
Almost years.
Ugh.
But
Yeah.
Avalanche is the first thing we're talking about today. So but you had to represent.
And then aren't you on a Twitter Spaces later about Avalanche?
Yeah. Twitter Spaces is about Banky though, not necessarily about
Avalanche. Banky.
About Banky, but it's at I don't know what time that is. Twitter
Later.
Spaces today, 3 p.m. East.
Okay.
3 p.m. East. So if you're watching this and you want to learn more about Banky later,
Yeah.
jump on, you'll see that I'm on another Spaces at 3 p.m. Anyways, okay. So we got all this stuff to talk about. We did the shout out. Reminder, we're a live show, Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We're on
Everywhere.
That was strange.
You're strange.
My phone was vibrating in the tripod. I was like, what is that noise? Anyways, we are on every major venue. And if you ever need a confirmation, we're a live show. I give it to you almost every day.
Yeah, literally every day.
Share, subscribe, helps
You
get
give
the
it to
word
them several times a day. Okay.
out. Pretty much, yeah. So let's freaking go.
Avalanche has been busy.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot lately.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Avalanche, since day one, has kind of been under the radar. No one's ever really given it I don't want to say, well, I'm going to say it, but it's maybe not 100% accurate, the respect that it deserves or the accolades or the acknowledgement that it deserves. Because, I mean, their go-to-market was, in my opinion, really smart, especially for the time, because their main chain go-to-market was C-Chain, which is just a straight EVM. And so one of the criticisms of Avalanche has always been, oh, well, it's just another ETH. It's just a little bit faster, cheaper ETH. And that made a lot of sense until ETH went proof of stake. And now that's not the case. It's not. It is faster. It is cheaper, but it's not such a big difference. But what Avalanche offers is a ton of new functionality, features, supports, tooling. And it really is, in my opinion, disruptive. But the funny thing is, it's out of the consciousness of many venture investors and different things right now. It's we'll have to see.
I'm always surprised because they also have great utility for institutions with their subnets, right? Like Deloitte uses them for
yeah. So the concept of being a layer zero or a network of networks, Avalanche becomes more efficient as it gets bigger, generally speaking, or at least that's what the architecture suggests now. And that's different than most other chains. As they get bigger, they become less and less performant. Avalanche becomes more performant as more subnets deploy and more validators deploy and so on and so forth. So, I mean, there's some really cool technologies there. They have an incredible business development team that is working on massive partnerships all the time. Again, it doesn't get as much fanfare as like some frivolous announcement from some other ecosystems, but it usually has some good meat on the bone. So I guess my suggestion is just don't sleep on Avalanche. Definitely not investment advice, but make sure you understand it. It's cool technology. There's some really cool people building there. And I think it's going to be a surprise in this next cycle. I think people are going to be surprised at how well Avalanche performs.
Yeah, it's exciting. Well, on that, they are launching some new things. So their latest is Firewood.
Yeah, so this is kind of cool. I read into this a little bit with something else other than what the headline suggests also, and I'll tell you about that. But I mean, this is another thing Avalanche has done quietly and consistently since day one, and we've been there. We were the first public protocol to launch on Avalanche, so we've been there since day one, and obviously have had some experience with this. But what they've done, honestly, is like continuously ship better and better and better tooling. And originally, when Avalanche launched, it was their bridge, because every other bridge had been hacked like crazy and were super inconsistent, and your assets got stuck. Avalabs built an incredible bridge. It just worked. It was slick. It was smooth. It was fast. It was cheap. It was amazing. And then they started with some of their cross-chain messaging infrastructure, the Avalanche warp messaging, allowing multiple different VMs, building tooling to deploy VMs really quickly as subnets. And of course, they've done a lot of stuff from an institutional perspective. Now, the next thing that they're kind of running up against is theoretical scaling challenges in the future. And so instead of waiting till they come and then trying to figure out how to fix it, they've launched Firewood, which is essentially a change. Well, a change. It's an upgrade to how they do the Merkle tree on the blockchain, Merkleized blockchain state. And essentially, it removes that, as far as I understand it. Did it remove it? No, it's designed to read it more efficiently than otherwise. And where is that quote?
What you're looking for, I would help.
You would. My God. Okay. Anyways, it doesn't much matter. Point is, it's essentially an on-chain database. It's a different way to read data on-chain. That was the reason I was looking for that quote, and I can't find it, of course, because we're live. And the reason I was looking for that is I think this is just the first step in a really interesting direction for how data is managed. So there's massive projects right now. Space and Time is probably the most notable. Filecoin. There's quite a few different groups and projects thinking about how to deal with data, on-chain data, and how to deal with compute and big data demands and data sharing and all of these things. And I think this, to me, is Avalanche's first step in providing some tooling and solutions also for that type of application on Avalanche, which is really exciting.
There seems to be a lot more activity on Avalanche too. Some of the news that we have says that the wallet addresses have declined, or the active addresses have declined, says that there's been price drops, that kind of thing. But then we see a group like Stars Arena having like a wild surge in activity and growth and adoption. DeFi Kingdoms, which technically is a subnet, launched Mythic Swap in the last little bit here. So I think there's still a lot going on. Where is kind of the FUD coming from about the
Avalanche FUD has been very difficult to understand, honestly, because often it's unfounded, often it's untrue, and no one can really figure out why. Now, I have a ton of respect for Avalanche. I'm really close with them, of course. They probably could do better sometimes at addressing these things when they come out. But that being said, I think every ecosystem's developer activity and wallet activity is down. Obviously, it's the bottom of a bear market. So to me, I think that's only relevant when you look at it comparatively to other ecosystems, and I don't think it's that alarming. They were talking about revenues being down 45% or something like that. Active wallets and active developers down between 35 and 45% respectively. I mean, that's pretty standard. I actually think that's pretty good during a bear market, but it's irrelevant until you have something to compare it to, And so I think it's a little bit misleading. For some reason, though, Avalanche has just had a hard time becoming the darling. It's always, in my opinion, been kind of better tech. I think Goon and Kevin at the very beginning were pretty confrontational and almost aggressive on Twitter and different things. And that really soured people's impressions of them, which is unfortunate because they're actually two of the smartest stewards of the technology I think I've ever seen. And Ted, of course, is another one of the founders, but he's not very public. But anyways, it's been very strange to follow over the last little while, but I do think that AVX is here to stay. and things like, Firewood and some of the other institutional tooling, Evergreen, Spruce. There's a lot of things they're doing. They're soon to have cross subnet atomic swaps, which is incredible via Avalanche Warp messaging. Anyways, a lot of really exciting stuff coming down from AVAX. So, if you're not aware of what's going on, check it out. I know we talked about Stars Arena briefly. I just want to bring that up because it actually came up today. It's essentially friend tech on Avalanche.
Right.
Friend tech went bananas, and friend tech, similar to BitClout, it's really important when you get in, right? It's kind of like your typical multi-level marketing type thing where it's very much a pyramid in a lot of ways. And so everybody's rushing to get in this Stars Arena thing. People that I know are blowing up my DMs, and I'm not touching it.
You're not going to do it?
I actually saw Masari today sent out a thing about, what did they call it? The friend tech ecosystem.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a lot of, there's a lot of people paying attention to it.
Well, we'll have to have one successful social Web3 social at some point. I don't think it's going to be Jack Dorsey's Web4. So
no, I think, in order to have a meaningfully scalable social, decentralized social, it's going to be a many multi-year build and deployment, and it has to be disruptively innovative.
Yeah, maybe these are all good testers for it. I don't know.
Yeah, Lens is really cool. Lens will be 2 or 3 years probably until everybody sees actually what their vision was. Which I think is great. I think that's how it's going to go. They're going to have to build meaningful foundational tech first, and then build social infra or social protocols on top of the infra. But we'll see. Again, this to me, it's the typical something goes bananas on one network, it forks everywhere else. That's what's happened here. It's already on. I think it's Huobi chain.
Cool.
Solana. It's called Frenzy on Solana. Anyways, it's been forked a few times already.
And we're saying super bitter about the forks at first. Remember that?
Weren't they what?
They were super bitter about the forks at first. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think so. But
people were forking and stuff.
Yeah, I think now they must have created some sort of royalty structure or something, because now I believe they're publicly acknowledging the forks. Anyways, the thing with forks is they can be profitable. If you look at last cycle, Ohm was another one of those things. And there was a million forks, but people increasingly catch on to the game theory, and the party is a lot shorter every time around. So just be careful.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I wouldn't play with this. So again, not financial advice, but be careful.
Maybe spare time advice. Can we legally talk about that?
Yeah.
So Uniswap is the next one we get to talk about. They are doing fantastically. If you haven't used Uniswap, I would be surprised, but they have launched now on Moonbeam. So I believe that puts them on, is it 8 different networks?
Mm-hmm. So Uniswap is governed by the DAO, of course. And the DAO, Uniswap DAO, is predominantly venture firms that own the majority of the assets. Not the majority, but own enough that they significantly influence what happens. And so the goal, when the Uniswap V3 license was up April 1st, the goal was to try to get governance proposals and deployments on as many chains as possible to deter, again, forks of V3, because it's pretty good tech, and there was no one that had anything exactly the same. Trader Joe has a pretty cool limit order book structure that's similar. But anyways, now it's just a function of people submitting proposals to the DAO, and then getting enough support. It's very political in these larger DAOs. You really have to call and convince people to vote in one way or another. So it's good for Moonbeam in many ways. I was with the Moonbeam team Moonbeam team a couple days ago, and they're still working away. They're doing some really cool stuff. They have a pretty impressive vision for the future of Moonbeam and how it impacts Polkadot and the crypto landscape at large. So Definitely excited about that. I mean, Moonbeam also had some pretty sizable VC backing. So I think it would just
people talk
probably
about
lends itself
Moonbeam
well.
as like a bridge to Polkadot. Does Moonbeam have more utility that you found?
Yeah, like they have more tooling. The one of the challenges with Polkadot is, I mean, the Polkadot concept is good. The idea of parachains is good to a certain extent. I think it leaves a lot to be desired still, but that's besides the point. I think that the tech was meaningfully differentiated at first, but it's an EVM. So Polkadot, naturally is a Rust ecosystem. So I'm pretty, yeah, it's Rust ecosystem. And so having a Solidity based parachain made a lot of sense, especially in the early days, because it was the easiest hop from Ethereum, which is where most protocols lived at the time. The problem was cross parachain communication was a freaking nightmare. And so there was, every parachain was having to build their own tool sets, and it was really clunky and a lot of stuff didn't work. Anyways, Moonbeam built very good communication infrastructure. And so being a bridge into Polkadot makes a lot of sense. You can very confidently and safely bridge to Moonbeam, and then very confidently and safely use their cross parachain infrastructure to move around. So, I mean, Moonbeam is another one of those, like, there was a lot of hype. It kind of launched, wasn't that exciting. Obviously, we were a part of Moonwell launching on Moonbeam, so there was a lot of excitement. And then it was just a slow start. And then, unfortunately, they had a Nomad hack, which
not ideal,
wreaked some havoc. Yeah. So hopefully this is a spark that gets the ecosystem going again. They've had a hard time on Moonbeam. They had a couple of dexes that struggled, and so it'll be good to see.
Well, having a major player like Uniswap is definitely a pro then, and it's good for Uniswap too. They had a price surge, and this week they surpassed 300 million swaps.
It's pretty impressive.
A lot of swaps.
Honestly, yeah, it's pretty impressive.
All right.
Now what?
Let's go off chain a little bit. You heard about the new stablecoin, the DRAM.
Didn't we talk about this yesterday?
We talked about it maybe coming, but it didn't have a name yet. We talked about, are they actually making a stablecoin? Are they investing in other stablecoins? Turns out they're making their own stablecoin, and it's the DRAM. So the idea is that it'll be in the UAE and Hong Kong.
Really?
That's the idea, but not yet. So, yeah, kind of a wacky.
Yeah, so this is the one that this is when we were I think it was yesterday we were talking about this, about we were talking about how there's the free zones, and that's what they use to encourage foreign investment and so on and so forth. So this DTR has launched DRAM, essentially what is the currency it's pegged to? I didn't see
the dirham, which is the UAE fiat.
Okay. So, I mean, I think this is great. It's if we can scale this as a space, I'd love to see independently issued and just, one-to-one custodied, essentially, assets to digital issuance. So to me, if they're holding the UAE currency one-to-one for every token that they give out, rather than it being, a central bank currency that's backed by the credit of the country, I think this is great. I think it's great for foreign trade. You can open up Forex markets that are super efficient relative to what people are used to right now. You can hedge without having to hedge through, sophisticated institutions. You can do it quite simply yourself. It opens a lot of doors. I think this is really exciting because this is how stablecoins should go, in my opinion. My problem is this is again another step potentially on the slippery slope. If this works, if they like the control and power they have, it only stands to reason that they're going to want to be able to influence it with monetary policy. So we'll see.
I think we just threw this one in today because we had some uncertainty when we talked about it last time. Were they launching their own stablecoin? What did that look like? So it's the DRAM. Now we know. Are you ready to journey into the cosmos?
I live in the cosmos. I'm up in the stars all day, every day.
Well, they get Bitcoin. Cha-cha.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can transfer your Bitcoin to Cosmos, which is exciting.
Use it for liquidity on osmosis.
Yeah, you can use it for liquidity. I mean, everybody's always trying to get the narrative of Bitcoin on their ecosystem because it's a somewhat dormant asset for a lot of people. They just hold it, and there's not a hell of a lot you can do if you're not mining and delegating or whatever. Even if you're mining, I don't think you need it. So, I mean, it makes sense, but most ecosystems haven't really had a ton of adoption of this because it's, again, you're trusting multiple bridges, multiple smart contracts. A lot of the Bitcoin OGs are just OGs. They bought Bitcoin a long time ago. They're up 10,000%, 100,000%. They're just holding it. So we'll see. I mean, Cosmos is making a fairly big push ecosystem wide for Bitcoin adoption. And I think we'll see a few other announcements, if I had to guess, in the next couple of months of some pretty cool initiatives. But this is good. I mean, as long as they can capitalize on it, you have to make it attractive enough for people to want to bridge their Bitcoin. What I don't like about this is the fees. Yeah, 1.5% is pretty high.
Especially on Bitcoin, I guess. They also have a hard cap. I don't know if you saw that, but if you're trying to cross-chain bridge it, there's a hard stop of 21 Bitcoin.
Per transaction, right?
Is it?
Oh, no, that's for the whole bridge. Yeah, they're just testing it out, I guess.
I mean, like, I understand that that's fair amount of money. I'm just saying that there is a hard cap, so it's not as though everybody can participate. It's not as though everybody's moving their assets there.
Yeah,
I think it's good to do this in a scalable way, but anyway, it activates on October 30th.
I think Sonny is looking at this the same way I am. And his quote, what was his quote?
Bitcoin is in deep need of an application.
Deep need of an application DeFi ecosystem. I mean, yeah, we've been saying that for years. It's just for some reason, there's never been enough excitement at the same time, right? That's what has to happen. Like, you have to have a bridge, then you have to have some sort of liquidity event where there's extra yield for a long enough period of time that's attractive to people. Like, there's a few moving pieces you have to kind of, get in alignment for it to work. So hopefully they can pull it off.
And I guess we haven't actually said the name, but Nomic DAO is the bridge. They're the ones who are doing a lot of this work.
Yeah. I immediately think of Nomad, which to me just leaves a bad taste in my mouth because it impacted both.
Negative sentiment about that name, but maybe they'll do a great job.
Maybe they will. Hopefully they will. All right. Before we call it a day, it wouldn't be a Wednesday if we didn't talk about Binance.
Yeah, we gotta talk about Binance. I don't even Binance. I guess we just say Binance. There's so much news about them. Also, we didn't talk about how SBF is on trial right now. But
yeah, I didn't pay attention to the jury selection, but I'm sure it was interesting.
Yeah, I listened to the Blockworks version of it yesterday. It was interesting. Cool. It was on our Twitter Spaces. You can go listen to the recording if you're super interested. Anyway, Binance is halting more services in the US, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, this to me makes a lot of sense. Binance USD is their USD stablecoin. They've come into some scrutiny from US regulators around their stablecoin, and more specifically around borrowing and lending, because it's additional operations on what they believe to be potentially a security, yada, yada, blah, blah. I mean, this to me was inevitable, I think. I'm surprised it took them this long. But hopefully they're starting to acquiesce to regulators, and they're going to just get their poop in a group and figure it out here, because it's going to get ugly if Binance fights this too hard, in my opinion. But
did you see that a California resident is filing a class action lawsuit against Binance also? Based on the collapse of FTX, saying that Binance pulling their funds was a critical factor?
I did not see that.
That's it's a little bit further down. But so the suit was filed October 2nd, and the idea is that CZ's tweets led to a drop in the FTT token price, and then Binance selling a bunch of the tokens basically impacted FTX, and there is now a class action from California residents.
Of course there is. Everybody always needs someone to blame. I mean, now.
I wonder too if this is a ploy with the FTX trial. because that's on-ramp.
Could be, yeah. I mean, this is I don't know. I struggle. I struggle with FTX just in general. Like I don't know. But Binance.
I just felt like we should mention it.
Binance has, in traditional markets, I guess, this stuff would be highly illegal. You don't see the CEO of one company out talking shit and essentially using market manipulation to impact one of their major competitors. Like that's stupidly illegal. And so it would follow that it shouldn't be legal in crypto either. And CZ, in very certain terms, was suggesting what he thought was going to happen and what he was doing, and then they in fact did act on it. And so yeah, all these guys need to be slapped into shape, I think. Like, fuck.
The other thing that Binance is doing, which we've talked about a little bit, is they have a new marketing person, and she has a number of ploys that they're using for their positive press to increase sentiment. I really like this one. They partnered with the Thai police and arrested 5 suspects behind a pig butchering scam, which is essentially like a phishing scam, sort of, where they make you fall in love with them or whatever, and then you give them money. And they seized $300 million in assets. I'm not sure how Binance helped, but they got a commemorative plaque from the Thai police.
Yeah, they probably. I mean, the terminal point almost always for any of these less than desirable activities is a centralized exchange and eventually an off-ramp.
Yeah.
And for the majority of the world up until like 10 minutes ago, Binance was said on and off-ramp. They had the most banking relationships in the most countries. So it stands to reason that, of course, they have access to user information, KYC with, transfers in from anonymous wallets. And of course, then you know who it is, or at least where to start. It's not always that person, but it's some breadcrumbs. So, I mean, yeah, this is fine. I think this is smart from a marketing perspective. Binance has had a reputation for being a network of scams often. Yeah. And so to try to turn around that narrative, they have to start doing stuff like this. My question from this one is, who came up with the name pig butchering?
I know. It's not just a crypto scam, right? It's something that people are doing on socials.
Yeah, I know, but it's kind of like catfishing.
Yeah.
But pig butchering?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a gross one.
Hell, it's strange. Anyways, all right.
That's the news. We didn't get to ETH, but we're going to talk about ETH on Friday.
We can get there tomorrow, or Friday, I mean. Well, do we want to say FU to ETH on Friday? I don't think so.
No.
Gas prices? Yeah, we could say FU.
Yeah.
We could say FU to. We'll find something to say FU to.
We love saying it.
Quick, fast reminder, we're a live show Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Like, share, subscribe, help us get the word out.
Yeah.
And today, Kiara, I say to you, go FUD yourself.
Go FUD yourself.
Later, everybody.